Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we did something that I think it's happened before, but it doesn't happen very often. But we were like, as they would say, hand in hand with the same movie that Kim and Ket did. Which is kind of fun because they've been our pod buddies and regular buddies for some time now. So it's kind of fun that they did it. And it was kind of fun. By listening to their episode, it got me more excited to do this movie.
Well, I had not actually listened to their episode yet. So it was perfect timing for me because then I could watch the movie before I listened to their episode. So
see, you did it the right way, but yeah. I was like, I'll tell you, I was hysterical at their episode. Anyway, but the movie, we should probably let the movie know. It's our episode 278. This is SLOTHERHOUSE,
yes,
which is just it's a movie I kind of wanted to see because it just sounded so ridiculous. But as you'll hear when we discuss it, at least I thought so. It's much different than I thought it was going to be. There's a little more substance to it than I expected.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'll save that for the discussion. But first, we got to get through our first chop. So I actually watched a couple of horror movies. This is kind of funny because usually, like right after the horror challenge, I'm kind of burned out. At that point, I've watched 31 movies in 31 days. In this particular challenge, I watched 31 movies in like 12 days.
Yeah, Tim went nuts.
So I took a kind of a break and just watched some other stuff that was like non-horror.
Like Naked Attraction?
Yeah, no.
We haven't even talked about that on this show, and that's kind of like taken over our little like text feed there to some degree.
Not Naked Attraction so much, but I've been watching like some shows on Netflix and documentaries and catching up on some old shows. Watched kind of, I guess, horror, definitely horror in the same lane. Just started watching the Boulet Brothers new season, which is really good.
Your thing.
Yeah.
By the way, did you watch? I don't know if I told you. I started watching all the old series watch back of Frasier because I watched the new Frasier, which is actually pretty funny.
Oh yeah. No, I never got into Frasier. I watched some of it back in the old series, but I don't think I would know enough about it to like. Oh,
you can watch the new series. You because the same jokes he was on Cheers, he has this one, and it's like they basically in the first episode they kind of fill you in basically.
Okay. Oh well, so one of the movies I watched because I wanted to catch back up on the I never watched the Hercule Poirot movies, the trilogy now and the latest one's The Haunting in Venice, and that one I really kind of wanted to see because it's kind of horror adjacent. It's about a seance and a ghost and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to watch the other ones first, even though there's no real continuity between them other than the main character. So I watched Murder on the Orient Express, and I watched Death on the Nile, and then I watched A Haunting in Venice. I liked all of them. A Haunting in Venice I didn't like as much as I thought I would, though. I liked the theme of it. I liked the fact that there was a ghost and a seance. You got a detective trying to figure all this stuff out in this dark old house. But I realized when I was watching it that what I liked about Murder on the Orient Express and what I liked about Death on the Nile was the big set pieces. I mean, you had these this luxurious train going through the mountainside, and you had this. Then the Death on the Nile, of course, you had the pyramids and all this Egypt. And it was like when you're watching a Bond movie. You're there for Bond, but you're also there just to see the locations and see like the people, the wealth, and the people interacting in this high society. Like that's part of the charm. And the Haunting in Venice doesn't have that. It's very claustrophobic. It's it takes place in one house, so you're never getting any of those big set pieces. And that just really I realized that I really missed that out of those movies. So I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I thought I would. I love the character still of Poirot. I can't say that right. Poirot.
I used to say. When I was a kid, it was Poirot. It's not wrong. But Poirot. It's years of it because I used to watch those Peter Ustinov ones. I think that he was
like even in the movie itself, nobody says it the same way twice. It seems like, but anyway, so Poirot.
I wonder if that's like a little hidden joke in there.
I don't know, but I love the character. I've always loved Agatha Christie mysteries and stuff. So, but yeah, that one was not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite of the three, which is kind of I would be shocked that a seance ghost based one would be my least favorite of the three, but it kind of was. But I don't know. They're still entertaining.
Well,
films.
no, it makes sense because that really was not like you said, it wasn't the forte of the previous ones. Was not like, there was no real horror element to it, I guess. I don't even know I mean, I haven't seen this one yet, so I don't know how much horror element there was to this one, but
well, it also dispensed with the big the Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile had these huge ensemble cast of like A-listers. And this one kind of like scraps all that. So you don't have this big ensemble cast of A-listers. And one of the main characters is played by Tina Fey. And I could not get past her being a comedic actress. I'm not saying she can't do non-comedy because she's a very talented person. I love Tina Fey. I'm a huge Tina Fey fan.
yeah.
But I could not buy her in this role whatsoever. Like I kept expecting her to crack a Liz Lemon joke. I couldn't get past it. And I don't know. So that didn't work for me. So there's all kinds of things on one on top of the other that I just couldn't wrap my head around to enjoy this one. The other one I watched was Cobweb. This one was on Hulu. Came out earlier this year. And this one's about a kid who has some very strange parents, and there's something creepy living next door to his room. And that's all I'm going to say without giving any spoilers.
I know. I own it, and I haven't watched it yet.
This one, man, I had really mixed feelings about this one. I liked a lot of it, and then there's a lot I didn't like. And I think part of it is I think this would have played much better in the theater because it has some really spooky, crowd-pleasing scenes. And I know what I'm talking about when I say a crowd-pleasing scene. It's a scene that looks creepy, and the audience would be like, oh, that kind of thing. Like you just you could see what the audience reaction would be. But when you're
Blumhouse is expert of that.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're watching it at home, you don't get that same effect. It's almost like you see the scene, and instead of being frightened by it, you think, oh, that would have scared the audience. It's sort of like you're like stepping back away from it. So that was my problem with that movie. And it's rather, again, it's rather tame too. I think it would be kind of maybe a good gateway horror movie for teenagers or something. But for me, it didn't quite, I don't know. Somebody described it as like a Goosebumps episode. That's kind of what the feeling I had. I was like, this is almost kind of like a Goosebumps episode.
I forget, was it PG-13 this one?
I think it was. I think that's maybe the problem I had with it. Not that there's not good PG-13 horror movies. There absolutely are. But for some reason, this one, I don't know. It didn't. Again, like I was still entertained by it. I still enjoyed it at some level. But in the end, I kind of agree with the assessment that it comes off kind of like a big Goosebumps episode. We won't talk about Five Nights at Freddy's because I still haven't finished it. And
oh my God. I heard it's a slog. It's like 2 hours.
Oh my God. I've tried it 4 times to get through it. I still am not through it. It's for a movie based on a kid's IP, and that's a very much a kids-based IP because Joshua's been into Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, that's how I discovered it, because of him. He was the one that was telling me about it one time.
So it's to make.
I think it was at Universal. He was telling me about it. He was he had it on the phone or something. I don't like. Yeah, he was playing it on something. I don't know.
And to make a kids IP movie so much dialogue driven, so many scenes where it's just 2 characters talking and nothing happening, boggles my mind. Like, you completely misjudged the audience. Like, this should have been wall-to-wall action to keep kids entertained. And it is, like, I'm having trouble getting through it, and I'm an adult that has, that watches slow burn A24 movies, and I'm sitting here going, my God, when is something going to happen?
It's funny because I saw a lot of everyone's like saying like, oh, like when Willy's Wonderland came out, they're like, oh, basically they just ripped off Five Nights at Freddy's, and like, but everyone's saying like that's the one to watch if you're gonna watch it because of course it's R-rated and it's a different dynamic, and you got Nick Cage going crazy who doesn't say a word in it, but still. It's like, it's basically they're saying that's what it should have been, just maybe toned down a little bit, Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It should have been Willy's Wonderland never stops. It's nonstop from the time it starts until it finishes. That's what this should have been. But like, there were times where I was literally scratching my head, like, who wrote this? Who, like, did they not realize this is a kid's video game? I don't know.
Yeah,
It was very disappointing, and I could even tell when Joshua went to see it, and I asked him how he liked it, and he said it was good, but I could see like the enthusiasm. He looked like my face when I walked out of Phantom Menace. Like, I want to believe that I just like that, but I'm very, very disappointed. That's what his face said.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that was my adventures with Five Nights at Freddy's. I still haven't finished it. When I finish it, I don't think my review is going to change though.
Yeah, I figured I'd give it a whirl at some point. I just like lately, it's like it's like all I hear is what a slog it is. And then I look at it's close to 2 hours, and I'm like, I never really paid attention to the IP to begin with, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like all I hear is people, but it's like number one everywhere else. But I'm like, I don't know. For the people that I trust have not gave it favorable reviews.
Well, also I think it suffers from the fact that it's not the first of the animatronic scare movies. Like, there's been the Banana Splits came out, and then Willy's Wonderland came out, and I mean there was that short film on Hulu that was also this basically same theme, and they all did it better than Five Nights at Freddy's did. So I think it's like it came out after these movies that were better had already done what they were trying to do. So with that, if they weren't going to go like balls to the wall crazy with this one, there's no way they could equal up to that. And I think they were restrained by their age demographic too on how crazy they could get. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much. First I want to say, first, of course, congratulations to a lot of our friends who we've met through this industry, that the SAG-AFTRA strike has now come to an end, so they could start promoting stuff. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there was like promotion after promotion coming out from everybody, which is great. And one of them is what I want to talk about, which is the Slasher Nurse with our good friend Brian Bremer. I almost said it wrong again. Brian Bremer told us about, and I saw the trailer for it, and this thing looks awesome. This is what it's got not only does it have Brian in it, but it's got Darcy the male girl, and Felissa Rose. So it's got it's like a who's who of our favorites.
Yeah, I cannot wait for this.
We just needed Emily in there, and then it'd be it'd be sold. But yeah, no, it looks really like a really fun, like basically how he described it. Remember, he couldn't say much.
Right.
But
he had to dance around it. Yeah.
It seemed like he was like on point, and this thing looks really fun. So I urge you guys all to check out that trailer. But yeah, that's really all I was gonna say. I don't have much. I've been busy with other things over the week. So, but that's good because we might as well get right into our meat of this episode.
Yes, our sloth meat.
Yes, our slaughterhouse. But this was kind of an interesting one. But I guess let's go through that little housekeeping first.
Okay, so this was came out this year, of course, directed by Matthew Goodhue, starring Lisa Ambalavenar, I hope I said that right, as Emily, Sidney Craven as Brianna, Andrew Horton as Tyler, Bianna Beckles-Rose as Zinni, Olivia Royer as Madison, Tiff Stevenson as Mrs. Mayflower, Sutter Nolan as Sarah, Milika Rzic. I was just going to go with that. I don't know. Stefan Kapicic? I don't know. Sorry, guys. I would say I probably murdered
the way in my head it's Kapicic, but I don't know.
I like your interpretation. We'll go with Kapicic.
Yeah.
Emily Young, a senior, wants to be elected as her sorority's president. She adopts a cute sloth, thinking it can become the new mascot and help her win, until a string of fatalities implicate the sloth as the main suspect in the murders. So going into this one, here's what I was expecting. I was expecting something like maybe like Zombievers, if you ever saw that one.
Zombievers.
Which that was a really good one. I was expecting it to be good because I'd already heard the good reviews, so I didn't expect it to be terrible. And I thought it would be, to me, I thought it would be more along the lines of like a Sharknado. Like I thought it would be self-referentially making fun of these types of movies, which it is to an extent, but I would argue that it isn't as much in that direction as you might expect. Would you agree with that?
No, it actually had like a little bit like, I mean, it even had a message in there. It had a little bit of heart to it, and it was kind of like, it was just really fun.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, I think it was like, it poked fun at a lot of pop culture-y things. Definitely poked fun at the social media aspect, which, like, how we've said this before, how it's like I like when, like movies will like kind of take digs at like the, followers and influencers and all these kind of things, and this definitely did that. I think it was it had some stereotype things like the crazy like dorm mother character. It had like a couple of like, like the if you've seen any movie that has sorority in it as a kind of as a premise or a thing, there's always those characters that they always there's the mean one and the nice one and the tough one and and all these things, and it had all that, but for some reason something about it like just worked for me, and I actually I'm like, it didn't like, other than the one character, I think it was Zenny, who was like played the really the tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know why she was talking the way she did in it. Like, she had like this weird inflection in the way she was talking, and it was like a little bit annoying at times, but I liked her character enough that it like I could overlook it enough to get through it.
I would say my only negative against this movie was that the over the top silliness of the whole sorority thing, which kind of plays into what you're talking about with the stereotypes, was almost a little too much for me at times. Like it was almost too. I could see the tone they were going for, but I almost wish they had like dialed it back a few. Like I think they were going at an 11, and I wish it was like at a 7 or 8. Yeah. I would have been okay with it, but like the mean girl is like super, cranked up all the way to 11 mean girl, and a lot of it was almost, it came off to me as almost cartoonish at times, which you're going, okay, Tim, but this is a movie about a killer sloth. What did you expect it to be? And I understand. With
like personality, remember? It's
sloth
not just like a killer sloth loose.
Yeah.
It like knows how to do social media. Yeah. Like we'll touch on that after. Yeah. This is a killer sloth that has a lot of unsloth-like talents.
So I realize there's a conflict there, because I'm like, I'm expecting a movie to be a little more serious when it's got a sloth like taking selfies, and I know that like doesn't jibe, but somewhere in my brain, like, I loved when the sloth did funny things, but I thought the humans sometimes like over cartooned the whole thing to the point where it distracted me. Like you said, like that one character that was kind of annoying. It was like, it was almost like that comedian on Saturday Night Live I can't stand, that's always like overacting and like completely like making wacky faces, and I'm like, just scale it back. Like, you don't have to be so freaking wacky all the time. And that's what I felt like. I thought a lot of this movie was like, the wackiness got it's just a little bit too over the top. But that said, that's my only negative. Everything else about it I love.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, like in comparison to the overall movie, they're kind of minor, like, annoyances and critiques, because as a movie as a whole, it works way better than it has any right to.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
It should not have worked. It should have been the most ridiculous, unwatchable thing out there, and this is coming from someone that's watched like a lot of that with the Amityville series.
You would expect to see this on Tubi with the name Slotherhouse, and you would have expected it to be super low budget, which it's not at all. Yeah, it doesn't look low budget at all.
No, it's not. And even like, it's funny, even like they poke fun at the name of it within itself. They do a DiCaprio Point sequence, which I wish I would have known, because I would have watched this for the horror challenge. But it does, like, it even says, and they all like groan at it, like it's self-aware of its ridiculousness.
Yeah,
which, but not over the top like some movies do. Like, there's no like looking into the camera and breaking the fourth wall kind of this.
Yeah,
just it's like within the story they managed to do it,
which is a weird thing, because like I said, there's some over the top in like the portrayal of the sorority house, but the movie itself is not over the top in the way it skewers cheesy horror movies. So it's weird. It's, it's almost like they went over the top in one area, but not over the top in another area. So it's, I don't know, that piece of it worked. Like, that piece, I thought they showed restraint.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like there's like a hint of like Mean Girls in there a little bit too,
Hmm.
which I like. Which they were kind of going for a little bit of that. I mean, I like the little beginning when you were introducing the characters, and they basically introduced you the characters instead of silly like I mean, this is a way to cut it down to like the perfect length of an hour and a half, as it was to like quickly do the little bios like with their social media page popping up on screen, like in like a comic book kind of
That
form.
was
The way
pretty
they,
brilliant. I like that.
I
Yeah.
liked how they did that, and Kim and Ket described it great. But like, but when I actually watched it, I was like, it was even better than I thought it was going to be because it was like it was the perfect thing, and they had funny little like things about the characters. So the point of like they quickly gave you the character bios the second they came on screen, and it was and it was easy to kind of follow who's who, and with like where easily could have lost all characters could have been so one note you would have never known, but it was like they did a good job with those little social media things, and like like that like I think we gotta give like a special shout out to oh my god, Tiff Stevenson, who's I guess a comedian, who played the house mother, Mrs. Mayflower.
Yeah.
She was so hilarious in this. It's just like 'cause she was so over the top, like to the point of where, again, she could have gone over the top to an annoyance level, and I think she managed to just like reel it into the perfect amount of
Yeah,
craziness.
like there's some like yeah. When I say over the top, I'm saying like in general. But there were certain characters that worked for me. Like the tone worked. Like they just had the right comedic timing. Like it worked. And some of them it didn't work so much. But yeah, she was definitely one that was really good. And I must say the sloth puppet was freaking amazing. Like
Yeah.
so. Number one, thank God.
I kind of want one.
I
like, I want one
know.
for my like a sloth puppet for my house.
They do sell sloth puppets at different like you'll see them sometimes at museums.
Oh, like the guns, like what do you call it? Gund, Gund.
Yeah,
The
the
place
gun.
that does the
Yeah,
bears. I
yeah.
think they make a sloth.
But
Yeah,
thank God they didn't use CGI. Number one,
yeah,
number two, the puppet. I thought they did a brilliant decision. Like it doesn't look real,
yeah. Like you're not gonna confuse it with an actual sloth,
right? But you know that wasn't their intent. Their intent was to make like it's almost like they know that we know that it's a puppet, but that's okay because like that's part of the charm of the movie. Like that it's kind of you accept that tone right from the start, and I love that. Like even when like they could have done something cheesy like film a actual sloth out in the jungle for the intro and then like made it only a puppet in close-ups and stuff, but they didn't do that. Like it's a puppet from the very beginning.
They committed.
Yeah.
Hey, and listen, don't knock puppets because I mean, anyway, sorry, Emily, who if you're listening, of course, Emily. She one of the things maybe I don't know that's out there. She doesn't know. Sorry if you didn't want this out there, but she does not like puppets.
No.
She's told us many a time. But what I was going to say is that one of the most beloved characters in film history is a puppet, not counting the Muppets. I'm saying Yoda. The original Yoda was a puppet.
Oh, I love
Frank Oz.
I
He made a whole
puppets.
career.
I love puppets. So
yeah, I mean, me too.
so-
It's like so it's like I have no problem with it, and it worked for this movie. I think that was the right choice to waste money on CGI or a real sloth like cutaways.
Yeah.
Just would have made it what we thought it might have become.
Plus, can you imagine waiting for a real sloth to do something?
Yeah, it would have been sitting there. Yeah, it would just not. And that was a funny thing because they played on that whole thing that everyone knows sloths are slow. And this, they said, no, he's really fast. And it was like kind of like one of those things that's like almost like they had to find a way to like make it believable. Like so they like changed sloth lore basically, right? I
In
mean,
many ways. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the sloth in this movie. I thought it was a fantastic. And that's one of the biggest surprises of this movie.
Yeah.
When I saw Slaughterhouse, I thought, okay, there's going to be like some wild sloths that get out. Maybe they're genetically mutated or something.
Exactly. That's exactly what you
and they're
would
like
expect.
aggressive, and that's why. But the sloth in this movie becomes her own character, like this brilliant character. Like I want to see more of. I want this to be like a new horror mascot. This sloth.
Well, I mean, okay, no spoiler alert, though here, but they, basically the tease at the end. There could be a sequel.
Yeah.
We could be getting. I don't know if it'll be Slaughterhouse 2, and it goes back to the sorority house. But I mean, they could easily like expand on this and make this into a franchise.
Yeah. I hope they do.
But what I would do is I'd make it like keep not instead of Slaughterhouse 2, keep making it like a pun, like like. I don't know what would be the next one I'm thinking of, but like like a sloth in a restaurant, something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Make it like its own, like almost like an anthology,
like you could, the taglines could be in like too slow, too furious, or something. Like you do something like that.
Like really, but like keep going with it, but don't like make it a true sequel, and that like goes back to the sorority house, like all new characters except the sloth.
Yes,
like let him just keep going into things.
That would be great.
Like I want him. Yeah, I'm trying to think what a great thing would be for him to be where he could go next that would work well, or something, like maybe some kind of like sports team somehow he could infiltrate or something.
I don't know. Now I will say this movie is PG-13, so this one's I think this was a good gateway movie as well, because there's not like the kills are not gory. A lot of it's off screen.
No, like any kind of sexual innuendos or anything, or like played so silly and ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no nudity.
There's no nudity. I mean, there is like a complete group shower sequence, fully clothed.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
So if you so you could look and it's definitely easily you could feel okay having your kids watch this as a gateway horror movie, because
I think I'm gonna let I'm definitely gonna suggest it. I don't think a lot of times the kids won't take my suggestions, because if Dad suggested it, I'm never.
I
gonna
could
watch
see
it.
Anna liking this movie.
I think she would like it. Yeah, I'm gonna suggest it to the kids, because this
you just be realized, because you might as well just put the money aside, because she's going to want a sloth puppet after she sees it.
She'll want an actual sloth, which is illegal.
Yeah, that's true. She may actually. Yeah, you're right. She's pretty precocious there, and she probably want the actual sloth in your house. So.
Yeah. So anyway, I like that part of it. That the sloth was its own character. That was completely unexpected. Yeah. I didn't expect the sloth to have as much personality, and I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. But they succeeded. That puppet was so good in making, like you said, making me want a sloth puppet. I fell in love with the thing. So that was great. So it's not perfect for me. It wasn't perfect for me. I think the tone went a little too far in one direction in some respects. But I think overall, what they did was not what I expected, but in a good way. And in some ways, what I expected, but also in a good way. So I like that they didn't do exactly. It wasn't predictable like I thought it was going to be, but at the same time, there was enough that I did predict that I enjoyed it. Like I kind of thought. I thought with this name like Slaughterhouse, it has to be self-referential, poking fun of these types of movies, which it does. And it has to have some of that to it, and it does. And I think it pulled that part off well. The only problem I had with is I thought some of the stuff outside of the sloth got a little too cartoony for me. That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, it's like it's a nitpick that will not ruin the movie for you.
No, absolutely not. No, I love the movie. I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, like I think everyone should, especially if you have Hulu. There's no reason not to go watch it, because it's no extra charge. I would definitely recommend it as a fun movie. Like I could see this being like I could see myself just like, this would be one of these movies where it just went like, I'll just like put it on the background sometimes. I have these background movies that I like to put on. I could see myself even doing that. It's just like a fun little movie. Good. It just lets you go watch a horror movie, silly horror movie comedy that you can just enjoy. And you know what? You'll just get enjoyment out of it. It'll put a smile on your face. It's not scary in any way. You're not going to get scared. You're just going to be finding yourself laughing and probably have a grin on your face.
You know what it reminded me of tone wise? And I'm not talking about like the over the top cartoony aspects, but just in general, like the level of humor reminded me of that movie Slacks. Remember about the killer pants?
I see what you mean. Yeah. Think about it. That is a movie about killer pants.
Right.
Okay?
Like it's a ridiculous premise, but for some reason it works, and it's just fun. Like if you go with it, turn your mind off, just go. Have it, it's just fun, even no matter how ridiculous the premise. And the people that made the movie know the premise is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but they still made the movie, and they know that you're going to be entertained by the ridiculous of the premise, and that's what this did. Zombievers is another one. If you haven't seen Zombievers, I'd highly recommend. That one came out several years ago. That's another great one. That's kind of along these same lines. I think Zombievers is a little more on the mature end, if I recall correctly. So. Fair warning.
Yeah, I think there might be. Yeah, that I didn't see all of it. I just remember seeing like clips.
Yeah,
of it
I think
and
that
stuff.
one.
I think it's a little bit more.
Yeah, that one's a little more on the R territory, but that one's another one I'd highly recommend. It's kind of in that same tone, maybe that same area. But yeah, so overall, I would recommend Slaughterhouse again if you have a Hulu subscription. No brainer. Go and watch this one, and I'm gonna definitely let the kids watch this one. I think they're gonna like it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this will be a fun. This could be a good family horror film to watch.
Definitely.
So I did find a beer for this, by the way.
That's pretty impressive that you found a sloth themed beer.
Yeah. Well, there are actually a lot out there. Surprisingly,
well, sloths are, I guess they're very popular creatures, though. Right?
Yeah. The problem with it is a lot of them were like either not available anymore. They were local, or they were like one-time breweries, or there was one that was like I don't know, like the brewery site was down, so I couldn't use it. I couldn't find anything on it. But I did find this one. And this one actually is more appropriate anyway. It's called Swanky Sloth. Which you totally see this sloth character in Slaughterhouse, like wearing like a smoking jacket, sitting there like in a library or something, you know. Anyway, and this is from Lupulin Brewing Company, and there's 2 locations. There's actually Big Lake, Minnesota, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which I went through on our cross country trip this year. It's 11%, so this is a strong one. Yeah, it's a triple IPA. Ooh. It's hazy, juicy, and bursting with tropical goodness. Every time I hear goodness, I was like, taste the biscuit. That's what I want to
taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Take the goodness of the biscuit. Anyway, so
does this have honey sauce?
That has been it might, but it says if the sick can. I don't even know. If the sick can art isn't enough to entice you, the liquid gold inside will have you reaching for this posh pour.
That's where the honey sauce comes in. The liquid gold.
Yeah, that's where the honey sauce. It's right in there. I'm getting that lady on our podcast. Notes of melon from El Dorado and Sultana hops. I don't think I've ever heard of Sultana hops. It says blend with the tropical notes of Strata and Idaho No. 7 creates a luscious hoppy harmony.
Well,
just like the movie.
All you had to say was hazy, juicy, tropical goodness, and
I know.
I'm there. I love those.
Yeah. Tim likes to taste the goodness of his IPA, so yeah, so that's a good one. So to finish the episode, as you noticed, we've been kind of directing these fan topic foos kind of to tie into the movie more. So I have a very simple one for you, Tim, and I think I know what you're going to pick. I think I have a feeling we're going to be in unison here. But for this one, that is, are you team sorority or team sloth?
This might be the easiest question in the history of Fan Topic Foo.
Yeah.
I am 1000% team sloth.
Same with
me. I did not like the sorority.
Yeah.
I did not like the mean girls. No. I mean, the nice girls were nice girls, but I did not like the stereotypes of the sorority, which, I mean, again, like I understand. That is poking fun at other movies of this type, so that the stereotypes were completely intentional. I understand that. Yes. But in terms of this question, like, there's no doubt that sloth was adorable. It was precious. Yes. I want one. And the team sorority, I didn't like any of your, that whole, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, millennial, social, mean girl thing. I'm not into that at all. So
yeah, and basically, if you think about it too, it's like, you know, it's like why we said about more serious horror movies like that we don't like when they do that, because it makes a villain out of something, like the bear, that bear movie, right, where they made the bears evil.
Yeah.
Or the you know stuff like that. So to me, like, the poor sloth was just wanted to be home in his area. They took him out of his area and they put him in a spot. And I think he did pretty well for himself. He had a social media page and a lot of followers really fast. It's more than I think Civil Gore has. I think he got. But yeah, no. So it was kind of fun that he got. She. I forgot. She. Yeah, she. It's a she has a lot. I love the fact that she, like, you know, kind of took revenge on some people. Yeah, some people maybe didn't deserve it, but especially the poor girl that ended up in the hospital because she was the one the whole time saying, "Would you bring this thing back? You need to bring it back to the thing." If she would have just listened, he was on your side, Sloth. But still,
Yeah.
you know what? The sloth's under a lot of stress. Okay, got it's maintaining that kind of celebrity status so quickly. It could to do it to a person, let alone a sloth. But yeah, I am also team sloth because that sloth is awesome. I want sloth merchandise. I want sloth everything.
Yeah, I want a sloth board game. We want the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. So yeah.
Oh, that would actually be a good board game. The whole object is you have to you could be one person could be the sloth, and the whole sloth is trying to get itself back to where his home was, and then the other characters are all kind of trying to avoid the sloth when it gets angry, so you don't want to cross paths with it, so you kind of move around, but every time the sloth gets to a sorority girl, it gains strength because it killed, you can work with that kind of thing. It's like a collab game, almost like one of those reverse Halloween, where you're Michael Myers and you're trying to the new one from Trick or Treat Studios, like that. But yeah, I figure I think it just needs sloth everything,
Yeah. I would totally love I wish they would make an action figure, something. I'll make something out of this.
Keep an eye out because Trick or Treat Studio comes out with these things, and Fright Rags may have a sloth shirt.
Yes, that would be great.
So.
By the way, speaking of, since we got a little bit of time, this is an early episode. Or a short episode so far. One thing I did play recently, which we used to talk about all the time, was Horrified.
I know. I'm saving it for when my nephews come. I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, Horrified came out. We talked about that one along. It was based on the Universal Monsters, and then the Horrified American Monsters board game came out, and that was based off cryptids like Bigfoot and Mothman and Chupacabra. And then they just released the third in the series, which is Horrified Greek Monsters. And this one has a Greek theme, and you're fighting monsters from mythology, like the Minotaur, Cerberus, Medusa, those kind of things. And I played it the other night, just a solo, just to get a hang of it. It's very similar to the other Horrifieds. It's basically a reskin. There's not much change in terms of mechanics. The one thing they did add was you now have layers. Certain monsters have layers. And you shuffle these face-down layer tiles on the board. And you have to reveal those before you can do anything against the monster. So if you don't flip over the layer, say you have Medusa in the game. If you don't flip over the Medusa layer, you're basically powerless against her. You just have to keep running around. You can't make progress towards her. You can't defeat her. You can't do anything until her layer is overturned. So it adds I
may have to practice this game before because my nephews are used to playing the regular Horrified, which they love, and they were all excited. I told them I got this new one because they're into those kind of monsters.
And it's not a big deal. To reveal a layer, you just have to be there and spend 3 points worth of items. So it's not a big deal to do it, but it just adds another little layer of time sink on top of everything. I ended up winning this one against 3 monsters. I had 2 random characters, 3 monsters. I still won on the very last card. That's how balanced this game is.
Now, is there villagers like it is in Horrified too?
Yeah.
Oh, so there is that.
Yeah, they got the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, the villagers in the Greek version are called legends, and they're based off Greek legends. So it'll be like Orion or somebody like that, and they're the ones that are trying to get to and from. So all that's the same. You're not gonna have any problem picking this up and playing. It's the exact same gameplay, except for that one little wrinkle with the layers at the beginning. And again, that's very simple.
So, but now is there more chance to get tokens? Because I remember, because tokens are extremely valuable in that game because you need the right color, you need the right amount. So if you're wasting them on now to just flip something though, isn't that make it even more challenging?
I would say it's slightly more challenging than the base game, which American Monsters was too. If you recall, that one was slightly more challenging.
I never got to play that one yet.
Yeah, American Monsters was more challenging only because the monsters were more complex. This one you have. I didn't find the monsters in Greek Monsters to be as complex as the ones in American Monsters. So I think I kind of put it on the same difficulty as American Monsters because you have that extra layer thing. but I don't think the monsters are as complicated. So I think you're going to be fine, but I think you're going to find it slightly more challenging than the base game, which I think is a good thing because
that's good because we were constantly winning that base game.
I pretty much mastered the base game. So I like kind of having that extra little challenge, and it's always fun seeing new monsters. The new characters have slightly different powers from what you're used to seeing. So all that stuff, and of course the event.
But they're probably equivalent, right? Like, so, like, is it the same kind of mechanics? Like, is there one like game where you have to like do like for the creature where you had the Candyland? Is it like that kind of thing, or they're all different?
They're all different. Like the Minotaur, you have to assemble a maze, and you have to flip the pieces over as you're assembling it, so you don't really know if they're in the right order. And then you have to spend actions to swap tiles if they're in the wrong order. So you have to get the whole maze out there, and then you have to swap tiles to get it in the right order to form the labyrinth. The other one I played against was, I think it was Cerberus or one of those, but they had like 3 heads, and you had to spend a different amount of items for each head. That one was real basic. That was almost like one of the most basic.
Is that considered like probably the eeasiest one? Like, you know, like a Dracula,
that's like a low level difficulty. And then the other one I played was a little more complex. This one was oh my gosh, which one? I'm thinking. Oh, the Siren. And she was like a memory matching game. So you had like 8 tiles flipped over, and if you played tiles against her, you could flip 2 of the tiles, and if they matched, you could remove them. But if they didn't match, you had to flip them back over. It's like that old memory game. It's only 8 tiles, so it's not that big a deal. Yeah. But so that was that one, and I think the Medusa one, you have to move her around to different mirrors that are on the map. So you have to actually move her and have her look at herself in 4 different mirrors and turn herself to stone or something like that. But they're not hard. But since you never played American Monsters, you haven't seen outside of the base game the different mechanics for the different monsters. So it's going to be especially fun for you because you get to see none of these are anything like what you saw in the base game of Horrified. They're all different mechanics on how to kill the monsters. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
Yeah. But it's a great game. Yeah. These games are...
I may pop it open and just look at it and kind of get an idea. So we're not like all...
The maps, stumped. I think the maps, I haven't compared all the maps yet between the 3 games, but I feel like, to me, it felt like Greek Monsters had a lot more dead ends where you could get trapped. So I don't know if that's true or if it's just I wasn't familiar with the map enough or what, but to me it felt a little harder in that there were more dead end areas where you couldn't get to them as easy or get out of them as easy. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see what your thoughts are after you play it, but I love this series.
Oh yeah, no, around the holidays when my nephews come, we're definitely going to play it because they loved it. The original Horrified, so they that's all they want to do is play that when they get here. So I told when I showed them I got the Greek monsters, they were into like that Greek monsters kind of like those the lore and everything. Yeah. So they seem to really be excited for that version.
Yeah,
so.
you're gonna like that one. I also picked up there's an adventure book series by Ravensburger who also makes Horrified. They did a Princess Bride board game, and then they did
I have that one.
Yeah, then they did the Wizard of Oz. They're all based.
That's the one I wanted to get, and they never got it, and now Target doesn't have it anymore for 2-for-1 sale. Yeah. So I couldn't get it, but I did get. I ended up just ordering the Scream game because it was cheap.
Yeah,
it was like it had 25% off, so it was like $14 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I bought the other one I got was the Lord of the Rings. That was the 3rd in the adventure book series. So that one is I haven't played that one yet, but they're basically the same. Like they have a game book. Where you're playing on the book. So it's a spiral book, and then each map that you're playing through the campaign is on a different page of the book, which I love games like that because it's so compact. And that one, each map plays completely differently. It's almost like a different kind of game. But they're also cooperative, and they're also a lot of fun. The Wizard of Oz one was really good. I actually liked it better than the Princess Bride one.
I mean, I think they still have some on Amazon.
Oh yeah, you'll be able to. Yeah, you could probably find it. Yeah, but yeah, I like those as well. So if you guys ever see those out in Target, those are always great to pick up, even though they're not technically horror themed, but they're still great cooperative games. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And I guess we're going to be back next week with our Thanksgiving episode.
Yes,
which I'm hoping.
I think we have a couple of ideas.
Yeah, I don't think we've like completely settled on which movie we're going to do, but I'm I'm hoping I've got a 3-day weekend this weekend. I'm hoping I can get out and see Thanksgiving, the movie.
Is it this weekend or it's next
I
weekend?
thought it was this weekend. I can look it up. I thought it came out on the 7th. Nope, you're right. November 17th is next weekend. So I may or may not be able to get out to see it, but we'll see. I'm hoping I can.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. I have a feeling that's a fun theater movie.
That would definitely be. And I think it's one of those that I'm hoping I'm not disappointed in. Like, I hope and I don't think they did based on the trailer. I was hoping they went with the Grindhouse version from the trailer from Grindhouse and like made it like that kind of style, but I don't think they did. I think from the trailers I looked at, it looked a lot more polished and up to date, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll be back here next week with our Thanksgiving film, and we're probably we're in discussions on taking the week after Thanksgiving off, because it's going to be hard to record over that Thanksgiving weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's also my birthday weekend, so we may not.
It's the Tim's Low B day.
Yeah, it's I don't know if we're going to be able to record during that time, and it's going to make it difficult to get a episode out on the 27th. So possibly we'll let you guys know. Follow social medias. Possibly we will not have an episode the week of the 27th, but then we'll be back, of course, for our December, and then it's all Christmas horror from then on out to the rest of the year.
We'll have 3 weeks of Christmas horror, and then our usual break before we come back for the exciting season 8, which is funny. This would have been technically Civil Gore Takes Manhattan, but no more because I'm not even in New York anymore. So it's like I literally left.
We can still take it because you just have to travel.
Yeah, we can
back.
still take it. That's true.
Yeah,
we could take it.
Yeah, but season 8 is gonna be fun. I think we're gonna toy with the idea of Patreon, as we mentioned. Some people have given us some good ideas. And what if it's Patreon, guys? Like I told Brian, we're gonna make it. We're gonna have cheap tiers. Like I'm not trying to. We're not trying to make money off of this thing. All we're trying to do is cover some of the hosting costs because we've been paying this out of pocket for 7 years now. Or 7 seasons now, almost 7 years. So anything that we can get back just to offset the hosting costs, like helps us keep the show going, and then potentially helps us upgrade equipment and do that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I mean we're not looking for we're not like having like $50 tiers kind of thing like that. Like it's not gonna be like crazy like that. It's gonna be very, very basic, couple of bucks here or there kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So we'll see you back here next week.
See ya.